coach once told me that like everything we want in life is on the other side of our fear. It sounds like you kind of confronted that fear, often.
Yeah, you got healthy, you lost weight, you survived cancer. Congratulations, let's throw you a party. Nobody throws you a party when you figured out you're depressed and now you got to go solve that.
You're a recovering perfectionist as well, aren't you?
I am a recovering perfectionist, right? And so I had to be okay with living in imperfection. And honestly, it's so joyous.
Belonging isn't just about fit. It's not about fitting in, right? It's about being welcomed as your authentic self, right? It's showing up as you. And people don't thrive when they're merely like included. They thrive when they know they matter. Welcome to JOY², Live with Joy. This is the podcast where we get to explore the power of joy, purpose, passion, and fun, and how joy, when practiced intentionally, transforms how we live, work, and lead. I'm your host, Greg De Koker, and I believe that when you live with joy, everything gets better. And I mean everything. And this isn't just about feeling good. It's about unlocking joy as a resource, one that fuels better leadership, meaningful work, and thriving lives. Each week, we share the stories, the insights, and the sparks that ignite more joy, because joy is contagious, it's powerful, and it belongs to all of us. So lean in, stay curious, and let's create more joy together. This is JOY², brought to you by Essentia Group. Welcome back to another episode of the JOY² Live with Joy podcast. I'm your host, Greg De Koker. As always, our purpose is simple: to inspire, energize, and empower people to live, work, and lead with more joy, intentionally. Today, we're exploring a topic that is deeply connected to joy and essential to the human experience: belonging. Because while joy may be a choice, belonging often creates the safety, connection, and trust that allow people to fully express it. And few people have spent more time exploring that idea than today's guest. And I can't wait to dive in. Christopher Bylone is the founder of Innovation Unbiased, a platform that combines data and storytelling to help organizations build cultures of belonging. He's also the host of the podcast I Know I Belong When, where he explores identity, inclusion, leadership, and human connection through powerful conversations and courageous storytelling. Christopher previously served as Global Head of Belonging at Krispy Kreme and Global Head of DE&I at IFF, leading transformational initiatives that impacted thousands of employees around the world. But what strikes me most about Christopher isn't his impressive resume, it's his heart. He's a cancer survivor, he's an advocate, a father, a builder of bridges, a builder of communities, and someone who has repeatedly turned life's hardest moments into opportunities to help other people feel seen, heard, valued, and loved. Christopher, welcome to JOY². It's so great to have you here.
Greg, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I thought before we kind of jump into the conversation, I just want to share with our listeners kind of how we connected, because it's
Absolutely.
quite, it's quite an incredible story. So we've been connected on LinkedIn, I think, for years, but never truly connected. Just
Right. We were just, it was right at that, up until recently, it was just a number in the connection count.
just a number. I was like, "Woo, you're part of my one of thousands of connections, one of
Yeah,
thousands of people I don't know." And
exactly.
so a few months ago, you kind of discovered JOY² through LinkedIn and binged on several episodes and left me a voice message after that. And also then wrote one of the most thoughtful and meaningful posts anyone has ever written about my work. And as I recently shared with you, when I listened to your voice message, it brought tears in my eyes. And when I read your post, same thing. And not tears of sadness, of course, but tears of joy, and what I like to call and what I've named joy streaming. So you can borrow that too.
Well, Greg, you landed in my newsfeed inbox at probably the right time, right? I'm somebody who believes in serendipity. Everything happens for a reason and everything happens at the right time for you. You landed in my feed
Yeah.
at a time I had made a decision to move from Charlotte to the Poconos, Pennsylvania to be closer to my son. I was making a trip up to Pennsylvania from Charlotte, driving in my car. And so I had a lot of time on my hands. And I went, "Well, this is a really interesting podcast that I really wanna get into," and so instead of turning on Spotify Music, I just turned on Spotify Podcast and listened to it.
Well,
And there were so many things that just jumped out at me as I was driving. I had to, like, wipe some tears off of my eyes as well because it was the message that was coming into me was landing in ways that I had no idea it was gonna land,
yeah.
and really helped me understand that the decision I made to move, even though it was going to be a very complicated move, it was the right decision for me and my family. And I knew it was going to bring me joy.
Oh my god, I love that. Well, it's funny because when I was listening to it and when I read it, even though like my podcast isn't about me, like it's about the impact I want to make on the world. It's about me doing my life's work. I just I felt the way that you wrote it, just like really spoke to my heart, and my soul. It's like I felt seen, I felt understood, I felt someone really got what I'm trying to create here, and I felt like my life's work resonated with you and the impact I'm committed. And I know this is your gift, right? This is your jam. This is your superpower, and it was no surprise, like, when I kinda started to learn more about you and after we chatted and after I, did some stalking, discovery on LinkedIn and after I listened to some of your podcasts, I was like, "Man, he is a gem." So you just have this superpower, right, to help people feel welcomed and valued and loved and, yeah, like they matter. So that's when I kinda really started, and after our conversation, started thinking, maybe belonging and joy are much more connected than people realize. So I'm excited to explore that together. So,
Please,
let's get going on the
let's get
old
into it.
yeah, let's dive in. So you said something which is really cool, and I thought we'd start here, and that's belonging and joy are co-equal partners in how we live a full life.
Yes.
So let's start there. I'd love for you to unpack that. What do you mean by that?
So I think for me, belonging in and of itself that stays in the cognitive space is really half finished. Right?
It,
And for me, joy is the feeling of the confirmation that belonging's real, right? And so, yes, can we find joyous moments every day, right? There are times when we can experience great joy, but almost that's a sugar rush,
yeah, right.
right?
Mhm.
And how many times can you actually have a sugar rush and be sustained? You
Yeah,
can't.
right.
Right? So for me, joy is what's what kind of wakes you up in the day, right? Gets you up, gets you motivated, be able to tackle the world's problems, right? Is like I can find joy. Belonging is what for me is what makes it so foundational, right? Is when I know I belong someplace, I can tackle whatever problem is coming at me, and so that's why I feel belonging and joy are co-equal partners in living a full life because there are days that are not going to be joyful,
Right. Yeah,
right? There are going to be days that we experience great sadness, great despair, and we have to be able to get through those days. And for me, belonging is what's holding it together.
right.
And then knowing that there's joy on the other side and that we can find those moments of joy.
So how would you describe kind of the relationship between belonging and joy? Like, do you think joy creates belonging or belonging kind of helps to create joy? Are they inseparable?
I
I know it's a big question, right?
Yeah, it is a big question. It's the chicken or the egg question,
Yeah,
right?
I know.
And what I'm gonna say is that it's not, right? And so it's a feedback loop, right? I think if you don't know that you belong, or let's go complete inverse. If you know you do not belong, you are never going to be able to find joy,
Yeah, right. Not
right?
not in a sustainable way, right? Not in a deep,
Not in a
fulfilling.
sustainable way,
Like
right?
you said, you might find those moments of joy throughout the day, but not in a way that fulfills you and sustains you.
Right. Also, if you can never find those moments of joy, it's going to make you question, do you belong?
Right.
Right? So for me, that's why they are co-equal partners and it's not a one thing comes before the other. They have to live coexisting together.
Right.
And they feed off of each other. It's a symbiotic relationship.
I love that. So it's not like you and I are jockeying for a leadership position, you representing belonging, me representing joy. We're partners in this together.
Yeah, this isn't a competition, my friend,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
This is not I'm not trying to like, "Oh, belonging comes first, so hire me first and hire Greg," or "You gotta hire Greg first and then hire me." What I'm gonna say to people is, "Well, you gotta hire Christopher and Greg at the same time, because the only way you're gonna actually be able to solve it it's a package deal. Package deal.
We're inseparable now, everybody.
We are, we are.
My new best friend. I love it. Oh my god, so good.
Absolutely.
And so I guess just to bring it into kind of a little more personal space, like when in your life have you experienced deep belonging?
Yeah, so deep belonging. So I'm gonna probably give an answer that most people aren't gonna expect.
Okay.
Um,
That sums up this whole
and
podcast, I think. Is that's like our
yeah,
will be the
yeah,
title.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So for me, as much as I enjoy the work I do in corporate world and have found a lot of times that I knew I belonged in a particular meeting, particular role, where I find the most belonging is when I'm out in the yard.
Oh wow.
When I am doing a yard project for my mom or a friend or myself, when I am taking a hike in the woods and going to find that really obscure waterfall, what a lot of people might not know or they might have known by listening to some of the things I've talked about is I'm a I love waterfalls. And so,
Did not
um,
see this coming. This is perfect.
yeah, and so just to be able to go experience a waterfall is, it's one of those places of joy that Mother Nature has created. And
It's
it is, it it
100%.
it is, it is like a miracle. About a year ago, I had searched out a waterfall I wanted to go see, right? And I looked on the map and was like, okay, this is great. I'm gonna go take this hike, and it said this is where to go. And I go walk the trail it told me to take, right, to go see the waterfall, and I get to the place where the outlook and the waterfall is, like, on the other side of a ravine, and it's tiny, like, it's teeny tiny, like, you can hardly see it,
Right.
and I went, "Well, that's not right. Like, that's not my moment of joy." And so then I pulled out the map again and went, "How am I gonna get there?
Mhm.
Because I wanna go see that waterfall up close and personal."
Yeah.
I wasn't planning to be out for almost an entire day, but that day I hiked 12 miles,
Wow.
and it was some of the most treacherous hike I've ever done in my life. There are moments when I said, "Christopher, don't fall because 'cause you're gonna die," right? Because I'm literally walking on the edge of a cliff on the that is wide as your body, right? And if you take one small step to the right, you were gonna go down a ravine and there was no cell service, right? It was the most joyous thing I've ever done
Wow.
because, 1, it was an accomplishment that I did for myself,
Yeah.
um, and I also one of those things people also when they get to know me is don't get in my way. Right?
Right.
And I felt like the people who said that this is where to come get the best view of the waterfall was like, "You got in my way, and I was gonna prove you wrong." And then I got to go see the waterfall up close and personal. I actually made a post about it on LinkedIn, and there are a couple photos where, like, the trail literally was called Dismal Trail, and it lived up to its name, like, there was no tomorrow. There was one part, there was a sign that was like, "Turn around because what you hike down, you're gonna have to hike up." And I was like, Challenge accepted."
Yes.
So yeah, so I just, love to go where I find my place. I
Mhm.
mean, what's the reason why I moved to the Poconos,
Yeah, you're in the
right?
mountains.
As much as I loved Charlotte,
Mhm.
loved it, great community, I love the people, I wasn't home,
Yeah.
right?
Feel like home, is that what you mean? Like it didn't feel
Yeah, so I here, I get to look out my window and I see deer in my front yard on a daily basis, right? Having their breakfast in my front yard. That's joyous to me,
Yeah, that is
right? And so as much as I really appreciated my time in Charlotte, it wasn't home.
yeah.
And I wasn't finding peace and I wasn't settled. And now, granted, at the time of this recording, I've literally have been in this home for like a week. I definitely don't feel settled yet because I still have stuff in boxes. But I also know that I wake up in the morning and what's out my bedroom window is trees, right? And it's just that's joyous to me.
I love that your path to joy in this particular situation, and often it sounds like you keep coming back to it, was Dismal Trail. That's hilarious. That's a whole post in itself. Like that's a life lesson right there. Sometimes we don't really know what's on the other side of that. Like, I know coach once told me that like everything we want in life is on the other side of our fear. It sounds like you kind of confronted that fear, often as you were cruising along Dismal Trail on your way to.
Yeah, and I think there were parts of the trail that were technically closed. The mountains of North Carolina after Helene, the devastating hurricane that came through the mountains of North Carolina, and a lot of the state parks were impacted. And there were moments that was like, "Oh, I don't think this trail is actually open to people, but there is no turning around now.
No, nothing
We
gets in
just
your way.
gotta keep going.
Get out of
Gotta keep
the way.
going."
Yeah, even that trail close sign. No, thank you. That's a suggestion.
Right, right. So
Oh, great. I love that answer. That's so good. Yeah, in the research I've done about you, I mean, you've spoken openly about moments where you felt different, misunderstood, even excluded. Like how have those experiences kind of shaped the person and the leader, you are today?
yeah, I mean, what I would say is every experience has made me who I am,
Yeah, right.
right? Let's go back to early days, right? Bullied in high school. Those were probably some of the deepest, darkest times of my life.
Wow.
Suicidal, even,
Oh,
right? Now, while that was a painful experience and nobody should ever go through that, I would not be the leader I am without having gone through that experience.
right.
Right? I think about moments of, being a cancer survivor, somebody who has battled weight his entire adult life. There are times when those things have gotten in the way and have created places where I knew I didn't belong. So, how do I take those and turn them into lived experiences that will help others? We're living in a time now where when my sexuality is under attack by my federal government.
Right.
I left the Catholic Church because they told me I was an abomination. I mean, even before that, I mean, my mom's a lesbian. And so here I'm told by the Catholic Church, even before I figured out I was gay,
Right.
that because my mother's a lesbian, any of her offspring are abomination too. And so I'm going to hell as it is. Right. And I'm an altar boy and I'm being told this, like, okay, great. Thank you. Um, so there was definitely experiences along the way that I knew I did not belong someplace.
Right.
It's what fueled my passion for doing this work. Again, it goes back to, my Clifton strengths,
Oh yeah. Right. I've done that
and,
too. Yeah.
in my top 5 is achiever and competition. If you want me to win, bet against me,
Mm.
right? Bet against
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna prove you wrong, right? For me, it's like that's probably what saved me before I even knew it, right? So if I think about the going back into high school when there was a lot of suicide ideology and attempts.
Mhm.
And what caused me to get through that was I didn't want the bullies to win.
Yeah, right. No one does.
Right?
No one does.
I knew there was a voice inside my head, and I believe it was my grandmother who had passed, who said, "Christopher, don't let them win. Like, you deserve to be here. If you go away, that is their goal. They want you to disappear."
Right.
And so it was like, "Okay, well, guess what? I'm not gonna let you win. I'm gonna do what needs to be done to get through this and to figure out how it's gonna get better."
What a powerful story. I mean, because just one of those things that you shared could have just taken its toll and set you on a course that kept you on Dismal Trail. Like it literally, you could still be on Dismal Trail, right? Luckily, you're not. For a lot of people, like how did you make that choice? I'm always because I know those aren't things that you chose. Like back in the day, being bullied, getting cancer. So how do in that situation, you were a victim in those situations, and how do you change that from not being a victim in your life? for the rest of your life. I think it's a power. I think I look at it as a powerful choice, right? You literally had to choose because you could use those excuses for the rest of your life, right? Or and use those terrible circumstances as a way to break you down.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be completely honest, I have a really good therapist.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we
uh,
all do. We all do.
right?
Yeah,
No,
me
I'm
too.
not
Yeah.
joking. I'm
No,
not
no.
joking,
Yeah.
right? I would say summer of 2024, I had really kind of an aha moment, and it was a photo. So I was speaking on a stage, was on a panel with HR executives. I was talking to a room full of HR executives, and somebody took a photo of me on the panel and they sent it to me. And I went, who the hell is this guy? I did not recognize the person that was on stage. I was obese.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I looked that I was not happy.
Right.
But everybody else was like, Christopher, you have a great life, right? You are the head of belonging at Krispy Kreme. You're married. You have 2 children. It's
Mhm.
kind of like you have the house, the white picket fence, 2 dogs, kids, and you're living the American dream, quote unquote.
For sure.
Um, and honestly,
Externally, you were, right?
externally, I was creating a culture of belonging for everybody else but myself.
Wow.
And so I went, okay, well, what do I need to do? Right. And so also this was after 2 bouts of cancer, right? So I had thyroid cancer twice. I have always battled my weight as an adult, but not having a thyroid anymore, you really like can't lose weight, right? Like, people do not realize what this butterfly organ in your neck actually does for your body. It's like your motherboard, right?
Yep.
It literally controls everything.
Right.
And so I decided that one of the things I needed to do was get control of my weight because I didn't like the way I looked. I did not feel good in my body. I just felt gross. And that led to other things. And one of the conversations I was having with my doctors is, they were like, Christopher, you have to get your weight under control, right? The cancer will come back at some point. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
Oh, wow.
And when it does, you need to be healthy, right? Now we're talking years, right? So like I'm going to be turning 45 in 2026. We're talking about maybe in my late 50s, early 60s that were potentially it could come back.
Okay.
Now, if I stayed obese for 15, 20 years,
Right.
what are all the health concerns that are going to be coming along with that? Diabetes, heart conditions, high cholesterol, all the things that people know that will come with being obese for a long time.
Right.
And so the doctor said, look, like you are going to need to be at your best health in 15, 20 years from now because the cancer will most likely come back and not as thyroid cancer,
Okay.
right? It's probably going to come back as something else and it's most likely gonna require chemo. And talk about a conversation
That's a
when
big
you're in
pill
your
to swallow.
40s,
Yeah, that's a
right? A
big
big
pill
pill to swallow,
for sure.
right? And so one of my doctors said, "Have you ever considered bariatric surgery?"
Okay.
And I said, "Yeah, I've been considering it. It's been something I've been wanting to do." Um, and they said, "Well, stop considering it and do it." And I went, "Don't tell me twice." Right? Because also the thyroid hormone that I'm on, right? So, like, not to get too into the weeds about thyroid cancer,
Right.
but when your thyroid is removed, you have to take now a pill. So I get 1 pill every day that is my thyroid hormone. Everybody else who has a working thyroid, you get to create that hormone every day, and if you need more of it, it makes more. I get
Right.
1, right?
Okay.
And what it's doing is it's telling the body to whatever thyroid cells are left in my body, we know are cancerous,
Right.
and so by taking that thyroid hormone replacement pill, the thyroid cells in my body stay dormant. They don't turn on. They don't have to produce the hormone,
Okay,
right?
got it. Right.
So if they turn on, then they're going to start multiplying and you can see where this leads, right?
Okay, yeah, for sure.
So
Dismal trail is where it leads.
dismal trail,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so because I was obese, I was on a high dosage of this thyroid hormone because it's fat soluble. And so, but the doctor said, look, like when you get into your 50s, we're going to have to decrease this medication because it's going to lead to heart palpitations. It's going to be low bone density loss. And like all these other things that it's going to start impacting because you're on this high dosage.
Right.
If you can lose the weight, we can decrease your dosage to an appropriate level. So we did. So, like, I lost 90 pounds. We were able to decrease my dosage by almost 25%. The doctors feel that we are at a comfortable level, right? We still have to monitor, right?
Right.
Because it is still a high dosage,
Got it.
but we're at a level where they're like, as long as you're not having any, like, you're sleeping okay, your heart's fine, we can solve the bone density issue by calcium supplements and exercise and dieting correctly and all those other things. And so I needed to lose the weight, but here's what I haven't shared yet is there's a reason why I gained weight is because I had an unhealthy relationship with food. So
Okay.
you wanna talk about how this has just opened up a can of worms, right? Like, talk about going down a rabbit hole. Okay, so then let's go get a counselor to figure out why you have an unhealthy relationship with food because the bariatric surgery is one tool. It's not the silver bullet, right?
Got
It's
it.
not the magic wand that's gonna make you lose weight. It is a tool in the toolbox to help.
Mhm.
So, okay, let's start to figure out why I have an unhealthy relationship with food. Oh, guess what? We now figured I was in a state of depression for 15 years that I had no idea,
Right. Wow.
right? And I've talked about this recently where, nobody comes up to you and says, "Oh, Christopher, it's so great you tackled your depression." Yeah, you got healthy, you lost weight, you survived cancer. Congratulations, let's throw you a party. Nobody throws you a party when you figured out you're depressed and now you got to go solve that,
Right. Wow.
right? And so I did. I went and unpacked why, we talked about imperfection
Yeah.
at
Right.
and for me, I had to be okay with being imperfect. And that is something that is a relatively new thing for me. We're talking 2 years ago now.
You're a recovering perfectionist as well, aren't you?
I am a recovering perfectionist,
Yeah, me too.
right?
Yeah.
And so I had to be okay with living in imperfection. And honestly, it's so joyous. No, it's serious. Like it's how I found my joy again. It
So
is
much freedom in
freedom.
that. We even talked about, like, editing. We said, like, "Hey, if we need to edit any of the video, any of our podcast conversation, we will." And you're like, "No, I'm unfiltered." I'm like, "Me too." So, yeah,
Right,
sign me up. I don't need to edit, It's like I don't need to try to be perfect. I spent half my life trying to be perfect. It's unhealthy. Yeah.
right.
Wow. Well, what about the hidden cost of for people of not, like you and other people of not feeling like they belong? You've worked with a lot of organizations, a lot of people. Like, what's the cost personally, professionally, organizationally?
Joy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
However, I do want to challenge you on a phrase you keep using.
Hey, didn't you sign the no challenge contract before we started the conversation? Hold on.
It's a
Sure.
fun one. It's a
Okay.
fun
Okay.
one.
All right. Fair enough. Fair
Um,
enough.
so we keep talking about feeling you belong,
Yes.
and it's not about feeling, it's about knowing.
Yes. You did mention that when we chatted. Okay, so keep going, keep going. I'm here.
So
Challenge
so
accepted.
so when somebody says they don't feel that they belong someplace,
Right.
wherever it is,
Yep.
be it work, at home, at school, in your church or whatever, you can come with a laundry list of talking points about why you should belong here, right?
Right.
If you were to come to me and say, Christopher, I'm not sure I feel I belong here. I'm gonna go, Greg, here's the laundry list of talking points I have for you that tells you why you should feel you belong here. Now, if you were to come to me and say, Christopher, I'm not sure I know I belong here,
Yes.
my spidey senses tick up, right? I
Okay.
get the hairs stick up on the back of my neck. Even saying
Yeah.
this as an example, right? I get tingly.
Yeah.
Um, because you are now making a very objective statement to a very subjective thing. And I'm gonna go, Greg, what's happening? Who said what? Who did what? What's going on? What is causing you to say, I don't know that I belong?
Got it.
So for me, it's really about the knowing piece, right? Because take a frog, right? We know the science experiment. You put a frog into cool water and you slowly turn up the heat, and the frog does not know they're getting boiled alive,
Right.
right? However, you take a frog and throw it into boiling water, it is going to immediately jump out.
Right.
Same thing with the knowing and feeling, right? The
Right.
feeling is that frog in cool water, and we're slowly turning up the heat, and the knowing is the frog in boiling water. Now, let's turn this into a positive side of the conversation. When you say, I know I belong,
Yes.
right? You are making a factual statement to your core. And immediately you will be able to know when somebody's trying to change that fact.
Right.
And so you're going to be able to notice the microaggressions right from the beginning,
Right.
right? Because when you're in the feeling space, you're probably not going to understand the microaggressions until they're actually aggressions,
Okay. Do you
right?
think your feelings are a sign though? Like, or do your feelings give you an indication?
You're going to have
Right.
feelings. It is
Yes.
the you can't they're not divorced from each other,
Right.
right?
Got it. Okay.
Right? There's going to be some type of body signal, right? And it is the feeling, right? But it's the feeling that your knowledge of knowing that you belong is being impacted,
Got it. Okay.
right? It's what is your body's response, right? Because I've gone into organizations, both corporate, nonprofit, name it, where I have seen microaggressions like there's no tomorrow.
Okay.
And I have gone up to people and been like, why are you allowing these to continue? And they're like, well, what do you mean? And then I point out what I'm seeing, and they go, oh, well, this is just the way it is,
Right. Or that's the way they
right?
are, or that's the way it is.
Right.
Like, right.
It's,
Easy to write it off.
and so to me, it's like, okay, well, then you're allowing these things to happen, and you have, that's why it's a microaggression, right? And so you have you have justified the microaggression happening around you so that you could feel you belong in this space.
Wow. Okay. So it's almost like, I mean, sometimes they'll call it a gentleman's agreement almost. I don't know if it's identical to this, but I won't call you out on your stuff if you don't call me out on my stuff. We just kind of let it permeate and let it
Right.
kind of
That's
coexist.
it's brushing it under the rug. We're not and so when you tackle the microaggression, when it's a microaggression, it doesn't turn into aggression, right? And so we and I think this is it goes to society bigger than, what we're experiencing in this world right now is why we're seeing such this backlash on the work of diversity, equity, and inclusion work, right? Because I don't believe we actually have solved the underlying issues. We brushed it under the rug. We put a Band-Aid over it. We said, in 2008, we moved into a post-racial society, the election of
Right.
Barack Obama, though that wasn't true by any stretch of
Right.
the imagination,
Right.
right? But what we did is we were only solving the symptoms,
Mm.
right?
Not the
We
root
were
cause.
not solving the root cause.
Right.
And so when you talk about knowing you belong,
Yeah.
or when you say, I don't know that I belong, we can get to the root cause. What's causing the cancer,
Yeah. Right.
right? Don't just take, right? Like, because I will say, like, before I got diagnosed, there were, I probably had thyroid cancer for a number of years before I actually got diagnosed.
Right.
But trying to solve tiredness, trying to solve weight gain that I did not know, like, why am I experiencing these bouts of weight gain and yo-yo dieting and all these things, and we were solving the symptom, but we weren't actually figuring out what was the cause,
Right.
and I got diagnosed with thyroid cancer in January of 2020. I probably should have been diagnosed with thyroid cancer probably a year or 2 earlier.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? For the amount of cancer that was in my body and where it was at and all these things, they're like, "Yeah, you've been living this for a while."
And
And
all
I'm
your
like,
symptoms too, right? I mean, everything was kind of pointing towards that, it looked like, but no one
"Right,
really
right."
connected the
And
dots.
nobody connected the dots because
Yeah.
I was one of the youngest thyroid cancer patients they have ever seen, right? You don't normally get thyroid cancer until you're in your 60s,
Okay.
right? So, no, there was no contraindication, there was nothing in the medical records, right, or in the medical field that would say, "Oh, Christopher's having these symptoms in his late 30s, that it should point to thyroid cancer,
Right.
right? It's just like, well, he's obese. He's got to lose weight. He's tired. He needs more exercise. He's this. He needs to do that, right? That's what you tell somebody in your in their 30s. Nobody was connecting all the dots that it was actually something deeper
Wow.
until my neck swelled up like a balloon,
Okay.
right? My husband at the time said, "Christopher, your neck is swollen." That was Thanksgiving 2019. And I was like, I don't know. What are you talking about? Like, okay. I woke up Christmas Eve morning and I felt like somebody was driving a knife through my neck. And I went, "Oh, it's Christmas Eve morning." Like, and I just stayed quiet because I knew if I said, "Hey, my neck really hurts," that whole Christmas was just going to be focused on me.
Yeah. Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm the type of person where it's like, no, like,
Yeah.
I don't want to take the joy around away from everybody else. I also want to go just have fun at Christmas and not be in the like, your neck is swollen. Duh, duh, duh." Like,
People
no.
checking in every 5 minutes, all that stuff. Yeah.
Right, like, "Are
Yeah.
you okay? Like, what's going
Yeah.
on?" So I just took Tylenol and Advil and been like, "I'm just gonna power through."
Mhm.
Got through Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. I woke up the 26th in the morning and turned to my then husband and said, "My neck really hurts. I need to go see the doctor."
Yeah.
Um, and, oh, that afternoon, we got a phone call from, our, social worker that we had been paired for, our kids that we adopted.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so think about, like, the juxtaposed positions that were happening there.
One of the biggest highs you've experienced along with probably one of the biggest lows, like, that gap can be overwhelming.
Right, and now this is the day after Christmas. I call my doctor. I get into an appointment. Literally January 2nd, he's calling me and going, "Christopher, I need you to come into the office." And I was like, don't remember the doctor's name at the time, but I was like, I don't have time." I was like, "Can you just tell me?" He was like, "You need a biopsy." And I was like, "Okay, who am I going to?" Right? And so I had my thyroid removed on March 5th, 2020. Um, 2 weeks later, the world shut down.
Right. Oh, wow.
My boys moved in with us on February 28th, 2020. While COVID was a very horrible thing that happened to our world, it actually was a blessing to my family because it forced medical leave or, parental leave for me,
Right.
right? I was working in New York City at the time, and at the time, my organization only gave 2 weeks of, leave for men when they have a child, or children, and we were gonna figure it out, but because of COVID, the world shut down, it forced family leave, and it was the best thing to bond with our family, though it did prove that our house was way too small.
So I guess, that's your way of saying you're not changing the name of your podcast to "I feel like I belong
Oh,
when."
no.
I got it. Knowing's a much deeper, yeah, and after hearing you explain it, I mean, I can see the difference, and, yeah, and I think it makes sense, and I love your angle on it, and I love, like, what do you suggest to leaders, what are some simple things leaders can do tomorrow to help people feel like they matter and feel like they belong so that their team, their employees don't so that they know they belong. Sorry, yeah, let's say.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you don't have to wait till tomorrow, you
Yes.
can start right
Okay,
now,
yes. Okay, perfect.
right? Like, there's no, like, no time like the essence. And so what I would say is learn about people.
Yeah.
Get to know the human on the other side of the title, right? Who are they as people? When you get to know who people are, you get to understand what makes them tick, what makes them show up in a good way and show up in a bad way, right? I think about after my cancer removal, the first time,
Mhm.
right? Again, talking about the symptoms, right?
Right, yep.
Removed the thyroid. I had to go through every single thyroid drug that there was to finally we got to the right one that actually could, like, manage, right, my thyroid hormone levels, right?
Right.
No drug was working. They would spike, they would go down. Well, what a lot of people don't tell you is also your thyroid controls your mood,
Okay, wow.
and everybody has a different, it impacts them differently. What I would say is I had terrible mood swings,
Okay.
right? there would be at 1 minute, I could be the joyous, most nicest person ever. The next minute, evil,
Right, okay.
right? No,
Uh-huh.
seriously,
Fun
like, just
funny now, not funny then probably, right? Yeah,
right,
yeah,
because it almost cost me my job,
yeah. Wow.
right? I stayed quiet about it because my mood swings, Christopher, you don't have executive presence. You need a coach, right? And I got an executive coach and working through this and so it wasn't until, I had somebody say to me, "Christopher, own it,"
Yeah,
right? "You have a disability."
right, okay. Wow.
I was like, "I had thyroid cancer. I don't have a disability." Right? Like, no. Like, I solved it. We're good. No, no, no. Christopher, you have a disability. Your medical diagnosis is having a major impact on your life.
Right.
That is a disability, right? Go ask for reasonable accommodation. What was my reasonable accommodation? Not have as many meetings in the afternoon
Right.
because I get to take that one pill, remember?
Yeah.
Well, I have to go take a nap in the afternoon because I am tired, right? And when I get tired, my filter turns off.
Yes, right.
The confident achiever competition person that's in me sometimes lands on people of cockiness, aggressive, and so I have to own that my competition achiever personality lands on people differently, right?
Got it.
Intent versus impact, right? You may not intend to impact somebody that way, but once you know you impact them that way, it is your responsibility to change the impact
Yeah, take full responsibility, which is what
and
you're
take full responsibility and figure out how you're going to lessen. But part of it was, hey guys, I have a problem.
okay,
Some people I could not repair the relationship
okay,
with
got it.
because they were like, "Well, what the hell?" Right? And some people understood, right? And so, however, when I started to own it and started to understand how this impacted my life, people started to understand how to work with me. I had close friends, close
Right.
colleagues, and been like, "Hey, Christopher, you might want to check yourself." Right? Like, "Are you tired? You did not show up the way you should in that meeting."
Okay.
Right? I had accountability partners.
Yep.
Right? And I've been like, "Oh, yeah." And so there were times when I would get to, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I saw some meetings on my calendar that were gonna be kind of those come to Jesus meetings, and I
Right.
moved them. I was like, "I
Right.
need to take the afternoon off." Right? And so that was part of my reasonable accommodation was to be able to exit some difficult conversations when I knew I did not have the mental capacity to be able to do it because of my physical health.
And what like, to kinda segue into, like, those are some major things that block your joy, and I would imagine even your belonging. What do you think, like, block belonging and joy in organizations?
Trust.
Yeah. And is that connected to emotional safety? Like, are those
Yeah, psychological safety is all connected there. If we think about the Maslow hierarchy of needs, one of the things I will just, if you're talking about, being financially secure, if people do not feel secure in their job, both financially or they're going to be able to keep their job,
right.
you're never going to get to a state of belonging.
Okay.
Right? Because you're not going to be able to overcome that safety that they're looking for.
Right.
It's one of the reasons why I enjoy and really passionate about working with organizations that the predominantly of their workforce is frontline staff, right? Those who do not have a laptop,
Right.
right? The majority of the workforce can't have this conversation. You and I get to control our calendars. We are, but the cashier doesn't get to do that,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And their job is just as important as the work you and I do, right? And so, how do we create a culture where they know they belong, they are valued, right? If we think about when I left higher education and as I was transitioning into the corporate world, I had taken a job at a retail store. I was a cashier. And I had the privilege that I did not have to work multiple jobs, right? I was living at home with my parents. I just needed to make enough money to kind of cover my bills. But I saw people who were working 2 and 3 type of retail jobs, and they were needing to jockey schedules. When stuff came down from the corporate organization about how deflated they were, and they just were so cynical, and they had every right to be, right? They could not find joy. And that's probably what opened my eyes to been like, okay, we need to solve this,
Yeah.
right? How can I help make sure that these people never feel this way? Because I was looking at the leadership of my organization and going, yeah, you all suck. And I could even remember conversations they had with me, right? And I'm going, I'm trying to tell you that they were messing up my schedule. It was just like, you weren't treating me as a human. You're
Right.
treating me as as a commodity,
Right.
and, like, changing the schedule at will, right? And I
Mhm.
could remember going, "Well, you're changing the schedule, and there are people who have other jobs," and I could remember the district leader saying to me, I was like, "Well, that's not my problem because they work for us."
So no sensitivity, no humanity, no they're
Well,
not
it
interested.
was like he literally said, "We own you."
Yeah, right. You do what we say.
And I was like, are we slaves?
Yeah, right.
You don't own me."
Mhm.
Right? I have a contract with you, and it says if you're gonna change the schedule, you have to ask.
It's a two-way contract, by the way.
It's a two-way contract,
Yeah, not a
right?
one-way.
That's not the way a lot of leaders in an organization think. It's like that really taught me about how to make sure that we were looking out for the folks who do not have a voice
Yeah, right.
or don't feel that they have a voice or know that they have a voice. And I was telling my fellow colleagues, I was like, "Speak up."
Yeah. So how do you do that though? Like, what are some of the like, is it just you're asking for their feedback? You're creating an environment where they feel safe? Like, is it one conversation, one interaction at a time? Like, it's interesting because you've done this for thousands of employees. So it's like, how do you scale belonging or scale joy? I know it's an awkward
Yeah,
question, but
no, it's not an awkward question. I think it's a legitimate question to
yeah.
ask. And honestly, it comes from the tone at the top
Yeah, right.
and the willingness for people across the organization to hold their leadership accountable.
To co-create an environment of trust and respect and safety. Yeah, and belonging and joy. Yeah.
An advisor of mine told me once, leaders get the culture they deserve,
Right, okay, I've heard that, yeah, I've heard that before.
right?
Maybe it's in one of your posts or one of your episodes.
It was one on my podcast.
Yeah,
Go check out Marisa Andrada's episode 3 of season 1. Love her to death. And she said that. She said leaders get the culture that they deserve. If you create a culture that is not built on trust, well, then you're not going to have people that trust you.
right.
And how do you build trust? It's about transparency. It's about being honest. People just want to know that you got their back.
Yeah, right.
And even in the hard times, right? I mean, I will tell you in jobs that I've had where budgets are tight and my leaders gave me the truthful information about what was going on in the organization, I understood I was part of a bigger picture and
Right.
went, how can I help?
Yeah,
What do I need to do? How can I help? Like there were times when I offered probably bigger budget cuts than anybody on my team because I was like, okay, let me do my part.
yeah, right.
One, because it was like, "Well, if I do my part now, you're not gonna ask me later."
Right.
So, yeah, it's trust. It's about building trust. It is also about being human.
Yes.
Get to know the human on the other side. We all have a job to do, and I would argue that the person who is your cashier, your person who is cleaning your office, the person who is interacting with your customers on a daily basis are more important to the success of your organization than your CFO and your CEO.
Right. They're on the front line, they're making it
That
happen.
they are going to make or break your organization, right? People do not, well, sometimes they complain about the CEO, but when they offer a complaint or they are offering a compliment, who are they complimenting? They're complimenting the person that was in managing the drive-through,
Right.
right?
Right.
Giving them the product, helping them find the right outfit in your store. That's the person they're complimenting or they have an issue with, not your
No,
CEO
not
or
3
your
layers up
CFO.
or whatever. It's like the more they love their company, the more the customers are gonna love, the company. So the more they love their job, right? And it translates so directly. So what can we do to make sure that they love their job, they enjoy, they feel safe there, they look forward to coming to work so that people aren't quietly quitting like we've heard, now in the last, few years from Gallup, right? People are just going in and punching the clock. They're not bringing their heart, their feelings, their soul. They're not doing the way that you talked about. What more can I do? How else can I help? Because they're
And this
doing
is
bare
bigger than
minimum,
work.
bigger than work. This is suffering at work, in at home, and everywhere in between. Like, we
Right.
talked
Well,
about
think
that, too much
about,
suffering.
how are you creating psychological safety and culture of belonging in your faith community? How are you creating belonging for your own children at home? How are you talk about our own government? They are not creating belonging for anyone at the moment,
No.
right? And so, how are we making sure that we are creating a culture where everybody knows that they belong to themselves, at home, friends and family, their community, right? Community being church, school, name your civic organization that you're a part of, at work. We've talked a lot about work, but
Yeah.
society writ large. What is your government doing? Right? So this gets back, and I know we're coming up on time, and this is probably a whole nother podcast. Um,
Yeah, for
but
sure.
but for me, it's not just about what leaders do, it's about the policy, the practice, and the process that organizations have. And when I say organizations, I'm not just talking about corporate, right?
Right.
I'm talking about your church, your fraternity, your sorority, your school, even at home. What are your ways of working with your children?
How we do one thing is how we do everything. You're right. So how we're how who we are as a leader at work is usually who we are as a father, right? Or as a husband. There are those consistencies.
My kids
Or
can't stand the fact that I am a DEI practitioner every single day, right? Because I hold
That's
people
who
to
you are.
inclusion, right? There was a
Yeah.
story where my son was asking to go spend the night at one of his friend's house.
Right.
And, I could hear him. He even said, "I'm gonna go sleep over at so and so's house." I'm gonna not say the name to for, and I could hear the friend in the background go, "That sounded really gay." And I went, "Excuse me?"
Whoa.
And I went,
Yeah.
"What did you just say?" Right? And they're like, "Oh, sorry, sorry, Mr. Bylone, sorry, didn't mean to say that." I was like, "Mm-mm-mm." And so I was like, "Well, guess what? The answer is no."
Yeah. Wow.
And my son went, "What do you mean the answer is no?" I was like, "No, you can't
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Sorry." I was like, "Well, what do I need to do?" I was like, "I need an apology."
Yeah.
And my son came home and I was like, "Nah, he's sorry." I was like, "You're no, nope." I was like, "I know he is on his way to sports practice, and he literally has to drive past our house to get to school. He needs to pull into my driveway, and I need to see the white of his eyeballs to my face with an apology."
And how old were they at that time? If you don't mind me asking?
This was senior in high school,
Okay. Well, and
right?
just real
Like,
quickly on that, I remember as a kid, saying that is so gay because that meant it's so bad and not even knowing what gay meant. We didn't even know what that meant. Terrible until I figured it out. Yeah.
right, right, but it's in the vernacular
I
of our
know.
society,
I know. It
right?
still is.
It's like
Wow.
when you say that's so retarded, like, no, like, all the remember those commercials, right, that people had? Wanda Sykes, would turn around with the salt shaker and been like, "Oh, that's so gay, like, what do you mean by that?" Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but what the joke that I'm trying to make, or the light that I'm trying to make, is that we need to be who we are all of the time. You have to be your authentic self, and that's how you show up as your best self, right?
Yeah.
I don't want a mask. I don't want you to be the person that goes to wherever place you're going to go to on a Sunday and talk about gays are abomination and women don't have a place in leadership and you name it, and then show up at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning and be all smiles and rainbows. That's not genuine.
No, that's not. And people pick up on that. We know that, right? We can feel it.
And professionally,
Yeah.
if you can flip that switch, I can't do anything to you, right? I can't hold you
Right.
accountable in the workplace. Personally, I don't believe you can flip the switch,
Yeah. Oh, wow.
right? If you're going to be homophobic, racist, sexist on a Sunday, or as I like to say, if you're going to be racist, homophobic, and sexist on at 8:55 a.m. on Monday morning,
Yeah.
you are going to be the same way at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. You
Right. At
cannot
work.
flip a switch,
No.
right? And so, how are you living your life that is genuine every single minute?
That's a great question. And Christopher, before we wrap up, um, what do you hope people listening to our conversation today, what do you hope they feel, or what do you hope they know, or what do you hope they take away?
I want them to know that they are human. It is okay to be imperfect. Lean into the imperfection. Spend time learning who you are for yourself.
Ah, breathe that one in. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, thank you. You know what? Thank you so much for today. Like your wisdom, your energy, your humor, your joy. Thanks for sharing all that. Like this has been so powerful and so fun. And like a few things that stood out for me today is like belonging isn't just about fit. It's not about fitting in, right? It's about being
Mhm.
welcomed as your authentic self, right? It's showing up as you. And people don't thrive when they're merely like included. They thrive when they know they matter, when they know they belong versus feel when they belong. So yeah, I'm already starting to kind of catch on. And that joy and belonging are competing ideas. They're partners, right? And they're equal partners and they're superpowers, right? Individually, personally, and professionally. And also that leaders have far more influence than they realize in creating the conditions where both belonging and joy can flourish. So yeah, Christopher, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for dealing with the really heavy things that you've dealt with in your life to get to where you are, where you're making such an impact in the world. I know you've made a huge impact in my life. So, yeah, thank you so much for.
You're very welcome.
It's been a
Absolutely.
pleasure. Yeah, cheers. And then to everyone listening, thank you. Like, thanks for your time and your energy. We know you have choices, and thanks for spending some time here and listening to our conversation. And as you go about your week, I'd encourage you to reflect on one question, and that's who in your life needs to feel like they belong, needs to know they belong. Even better question. And maybe it's a colleague, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a friend, and maybe it's you, right? Because joy grows wherever people feel safe enough to be fully themselves. So until next time, live, work, and lead with more joy intentionally. Cheers. Thanks for spending this time with us on Joy Squared, where joy multiplies and everything gets better. Remember, joy isn't just something you feel, it's something you create and it's something you pass on. If this conversation sparks something in you, share it because joy is contagious. What we're building here is bigger than a podcast. It's a reminder and a movement that how we live, work, and lead truly matters. Until next time, live with joy, lead with purpose, and never forget to have fun. Keep choosing joy squared. And if you're enjoying the journey, we'd be grateful if you subscribe, like, and share Joy Squared so the ripple keeps spreading.